Hello everybody and welcome to DNQ for another video, this time the 2021 FIFA Arab Cup tournament preview. Ryan, good evening, how are you?
Hello my friend, I am very well. How are you?
I'm not too bad because I looked on our YouTube today and we have reached that joyous number of 100 subscribers.
We are officially massive, my friend.
Absolutely enormous.
And that's a really lovely segue actually, because this video is sponsored by Soon Come,
Soon Come, but it's actually not Soon Come, by the way.
No, and that's obviously not what we're here for here at D&Q, but what shall we say, Tomo, to those 100 that have subbed? Thank you very, very much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we love it.
We come on here and talk about minnow nations and international football, and we love the fact that you have subbed to listen to us do exactly that. So keep them coming.
Exactly, yeah, and to all the fans that got in touch across the Mahinda Rajapaksa, thank you so much for doing that. That's brilliant. And hopefully we reach new audiences as well with our coverage of the Arab Cup across the next few weeks or so, along with the Suzuki Cup that we'll also be keeping tabs as well. It's a very busy time for Minnow Nation and international football as a whole.
Yes. And I think with the Arab Cup, and don't get me wrong, we'll go into this tournament in a bit more detail. But as we speak about a lot on DNQ, the bread and butter for this channel is those that are sitting at the bottom of the pyramid, or that are in that bottom, however many nations. And there's a few nations, or there's a fair few nations in this FIFA Arab Cup that aren't. But there are a few that are, and that's kind of where we'll be focusing around those results. Don't get me wrong, we will still touch on those that are doing well in the tournament. But I guess kind of what we'll be doing is we'll be balancing the Suzuki Cup coverage with some sort of dipping in and out of the Arab Cup and what the results have been, who's sort of standout players, standout teams, etc. It won't go into that sort of game by game review like we did with the Four Nations Sri Lanka trophy, will we? But we're here and we'll be covering it nonetheless.
Exactly, yeah, I think that's a really good point. So this video is an intro to the tournament as a whole, talking about all the teams that are competing in it in sort of minimal detail, just giving you an idea of what the tournament is as a whole, little bit of history, but the main coverage from us across the next few weeks is going to be if some of those minnow nation sides bring some excellent results, or there's just some passionate results as a whole. So without further ado, shall we get into talking about this tournament?
We shall. What I am going to just apologise for before we get stuck in is my lack of shirt. I can see you're donning a spectacular
Palestine shirt.
There. Palestine shirt. Yeah, your review's on the channel and it's a cracker. I apologise about that. I've also not even had the kettle on. I've just going pure H2O this evening. Shocking, I know. And when you are talking, again, excuse me, because I've gone for some OT crumbles to accompany us this evening as well.
Just, in advance of you literally tucking into your dinner, just feel free to move that headset away if you need to.
Don't you worry.
Don't you worry.
That you're trying to make a really factual point, and here's just me scoffing on these OT crumbles. I am going to very quickly, before we touch on the Arab Cup, this is the next shirt to come out, by the way, and a massive shout out to you, Tomo, and my other half, and the BVI boys, for sorting me out this signed training top. Like, come on. What a gift from you, pal. Top man. So, to Ryan, best wishes, signed by the BVI squad. That is coming to a DNQ stream very, very soon.
Absolutely.
Buzzing with that. Anyway, FIFA Arab Cup, that's what we're here for.
We are. Thank you for the shout out. But yes, the Arab Cup. So, a tournament that mixes sides, as does the Four Nations Prime Minister that we've covered so well across the last month or so, combines AFC and CAF sides across the two footballing regions because, of course, it covers the Arab world, or, as apparently a colloquial term, the Arabsphere, which
I have never heard of that in my entire life. Is that a thing, or have you just made that up, and are you using this video to try and coin that as a phrase?
If it's not a thing, it should be.
I think I'm sort of into that.
I'm into it as well. But sides from, geographically speaking, of course, the Middle East and North and Eastern Africa as well. I've had a look though that the history of this tournament, it seems to just sort of happen rather than any sort of 2 years or 4 years or anything like that. The last tournament taking place in 2012.
Was it?
Yeah,
I didn't know
2012.
that.
Yeah, but if you look at the whole Arab Cup, this is the first Arab Cup, by the way, that's got the FIFA branding. This is the first official FIFA Arab Cup, so potentially going forward, it might be in a bit more of a routine. But they just seem to go, let's hold one.
I have to say, I didn't know it was that long ago since
9
the
years.
last edition. I'd seen, this is the first with that FIFA branding. I mean, it coincides with the World Cup, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But it's the 10th edition of the tournament as a whole. I didn't know they were that sporadic.
They
Now,
are.
the FIFA, the vibe I'm getting from this one, Tomo, is that this FIFA have stuck their name to this, right? The FIFA Arab Cup. They've stuck their name to it, and this is almost like a smaller, mini version of what the Confederations Cup used to be. So a year out from the major tournament, the hosting nation of the World Cup would host the Confederations Cup to, I guess, test stadium out, test facilities, give football fans a bit of a flavour as to what it will be like hosting a major international football tournament in that nation. And with the Confederations Cup now defunct, no longer a thing, this kind of screams like FIFA's version of that. Does it to you? Or am I just
Certainly,
sort of-
no, certainly this year, this World Cup year, because, I feel like they've literally gone, oh, we need to do something to test whether or not Qatar can host a tournament like this. The Arab Cup's not defunct, but it's not been around for a little while, and it does seem like they've looked at it and gone, okay. I think more and more we see Gianni Infantino and FIFA trying to bring football to more places than just Europe and South America. And I think that Asia is getting a lot of love and a lot of attention at the moment, and rightly so. But certainly I'd agree, it feels like, let's test the facilities, let's test everything in Qatar, let's just make sure the logistics are there before, of course, the biggest football competition in the world next year. Because if anything goes wrong, they've obviously got time to rectify that. But it should be a brilliant spectacle, of course, hosted primarily in Doha in Qatar.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you'd hope it would be a good spectacle. I saw the other day that all the stadiums for the World Cup are done a year out, so they're ready for it. This is kind of the dummy run, isn't it? So we shall see. I think Qatar will. I think it would have been interesting, actually. I think if the Confederations Cup was still, I think they'd have been really, really keen for that. I think this is. As we said, this kind of plays second fiddle to that because Qatar kind of want the world's eyes on them as a nation, don't they? So any excuse, I think, for them, and as you said, to test out the infrastructure and the logistics side of it pre the World Cup next year, and to hopefully host a really fantastic football tournament. Kind of sets this up. This is kind of the goal for this tourno. It runs from, I'm not sure if you covered this, it runs from the 30th of November to the 18th of December. So those are also similar days-ish to what the World Cup will be next year. Have you talked through tournament structure, what it's made up of? Do you want to lead on that for any of our viewers that are totally clueless as to what the Arab Cup is and how it all kind of plays out?
Absolutely. So we've got a range of teams from a range of different abilities, really. So there's 23 teams in the first instance. They are whittled down to 16, and those have already happened. So the top 9 ranked sides automatically get through to the group stage, and they are then joined by the sides that win the little head-to-heads that happen between the other nations.
It's a kind of a weird small qualification thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and that leads to 4 groups of 4. And it's almost like half a World Cup in many ways, because it's 4 groups of 4. The top 2 of each then progress into round of 16. Into quarters, semis, and finals. And it's just one round robin. The qualifiers have already taken place. Winners from that: Sudan, Oman, Jordan, Mauritania, Lebanon, Palestine, and Bahrain, which we will now talk through in the context of the groups that they are in. And shall I kick us off? Shall I kick us off with Group A?
Do kick us off with Group A. Before we go, so of the 16 teams, this is what you mentioned this already, but I thought it was quite interesting. of the 16 teams, I hope I've got this right, 6 are from CAF and 10 are from the AFC. A very quick one on the qualifications before we dive straight into Group A. Some cool results. The main one for me was Palestine overcoming Comoros 5-1 in qualification. That stood out to me as an excellent result. You mentioned Bahrain, Mauritania, Lebanon beat Kuwait, Yemen and
Djibouti
respectively, and Oman edged Somalia. Sudan became Libya. So it sets us up for a nice tournament. The group stages, 4 groups of 4 as you've said. Group A, who's in it, Tomo?
Group A is made up of the hosts Qatar, Iraq, Oman and Bahrain. And if you're thinking, okay, so who's going to progress out of this one? Well, Qatar will of course be disappointed if they don't. They are strong favourites in this group. Iraq and Oman are still in AFC World Cup qualification, so they've got a shot at making it to the World Cup next year. However, it's a very slim one at this stage. Oman probably slightly more likely. Bahrain knocked out in the previous round. Quite a poor showing from them to go out in round 2 of the AFC. This one's going to be interesting. I think that Qatar, very much the side that you'd expect on paper to progress first. But as we've already seen in other tournaments, in a round robin, you just don't know. Oman, of course, famously beat Japan not too long ago in World Cup qualification. So I think it will be interesting. I think it'll be really interesting. The host nation will hope to progress. I think the other 3, it will be maybe closer than people think. So I'd be really interested to see what the order is. The first game that kicks off is Iraq versus Oman. That's going to be the one that sort of shapes the group, I think, a little bit in terms of who wins from that. And then, of course, Qatar play Bahrain as well, which they will hope to start with a win. And I think that the first game, the first set of fixtures works well because I think that sets the tone for that group. And I expect the winners, if there are winners, to then progress.
Yes.
Talk me through Group B, my friend.
Group B is made up of 2 nations that are from Africa and 2 that are from the AFC. We have got Tunisia, weirdly enough. Tunisia, the United Arab Emirates, Syria and Mauritania. If we just blitz through the teams very, very quickly, Tunisia don't need too much of an introduction. A good team in world football. Ranked 29th in the most recent, in the World Cup in 2018. They were in England's group actually, weren't they?
Yes.
We only beat them with a late Kane
2-1.
goal. They've just qualified for the 3rd round of World Cup qualification in Africa, edging Equatorial Guinea. We were kind of following that quite closely because Equatorial Guinea were doing pretty well in that group. As I said, not going to dwell too much on them. It really depends what side they bring to the tournament, and we'll compare them with some other sides later because they're listed as Tunisia, whereas some other
they are Tunisia
are kind of sort of A, aren't they? Given kind of an A team title that we'll talk about later. Second in the group, UAE. In 2012, they were ranked just 138, 140, which was their lowest ever. A decade later, they're up to 70, to a top 70 nation. They are competing in the 3rd round of AFC qualification. They still are in with a shout of getting that 3rd spot, which then goes through to the playoff, to then the Interconfed playoff, that route. And they'll be a solid outfit for the tournament. Big names, elite striker Ali Mapgout, who you may have heard of, actually 79 goals in 98 appearances. Yusuf Jabeur and Ali Salim are also players. When I was looking at pre-tournament and looking at a UAE, they are talked about names. Ismail Mata, not sure if I've got that pronunciation quite right, is he's getting on a bit at 38, but he's got 134 caps. So if he is in the squad, chances are it might be his last appearance at a major tournament for the UAE. They'll be a strong side. Syria, 85th in the world, bottom of the group in AFC qualifications. So they're in Group A, round 3, but they're bottom of the group, so they won't be going through. And they won't make the World Cup, I doubt. But in the 2nd round of AFC qualification, they did really well. 7 wins out of 8, and they've got the legendary striker that is Al Sommer up front. So again, a strong outfit, and they will be providing some entertainment. And I'm sure Al Sommer will be in amongst the goals. And sort of 4th and kind of last and by no means least, Mauritania are in this group. Outside the top 100 in world rankings, they've crashed out of the World Cup qualification in the 2nd round. They were in the same group as Tunisia and Equatorial Guinea in the World Cup quali, so not an easy group. They're a strong, solid outfit. They've got a lot of players that play in native Mauritania, but also got loads based across Europe. So they've clearly got some solid players. They'll be a strong, solid outfit. And when I'm looking at this group as a whole, I don't know how to call it, just because I don't know what Tunisia are going to bring. Are they going to bring a really, really strong side? Tunisia have got a lot of players based in Tunisia, which kind of lends me to the thought that they will bring a strong outfit. If so, I think they'll win the group. Then it's down to the battle between UAE, Syria, and Mauritania for that second spot to qualify from the group. That's my oversight on Group B, pal. Have we got a Group C?
We do. We have C and D, as of course you know, and it's an interesting point actually to talk about Tunisia. And I've looked ahead to Group C and D, of course. And one thing that's going to be interesting is, like you say, those 6 sides from CAF. Not all of them, but certainly some of them will be competing in January's African Cup of Nations.
Yes.
So that may impact the squads that they bring. I think that the African Cup of Nations, with no disrespect to this tournament, is probably more well-known and perhaps to those African sides more prestigious. I appreciate this is a warm-up to the World Cup, but some of the sides it may be interesting to see if they bring their strongest outfit or just choose to test a few players on the periphery in advance of the African Cup of Nations, which kicks off in January of next year. But Group C is made up of Morocco, Saudi Arabia, Jordan and Palestine, but it's not the Morocco side that won the tournament in 2012, because it is Morocco A, or Morocco's local national team. Now, that means there's no players like Ziyech, there's no Benatia, but, and what's meant by this is the Morocco local national team is only made up of players from Morocco who currently play in the domestic Moroccan leagues. Players who play abroad, even if they've previously played in the Moroccan leagues, aren't available for this. They have to currently play in those domestic leagues. However, this domestic side, has won the African Nations Championship, which is the domestic version of the African Cup of Nations. So again, only players from the continent. They have won it twice, including the most recent tournament. So they're not, I know that Ziyech is obviously a huge player for the Morocco national team, as is Benatia, but I don't think that they'll be a poor side by any stretch. I think that they'll be looking to push on in this tournament. Saudi Arabia, probably the strongest side in this group. They're in the 3rd round of AFC qualifiers, and I'd be stunned if they don't qualify for what would be their 6th ever World Cup, only their 6th World Cup in their history.
Incredible.
Yeah, they've only got to the round of 16 on one occasion, which was the first occasion that they qualified for the World Cup. That was in 1994, so it's been a long time since they've got out of the group stage of a World Cup. They're on 16 points at the moment, top of Group B. I'd be very surprised if they let that slip, so I imagine they will be at the Qatar World Cup. They've got a little bit of time before the next lot of World Cup qualifiers, so they might bring a strong squad, but I'd be surprised if they don't rotate and test a few players as well, to be honest, given that World Cup qualification is, of course, the priority for them. And then it's Jordan and Palestine, 2 of the lower ranked sides. Of course, I'm donning a Palestine shirt today, and you can see my shirt review and a little bit of info on Palestine on our other streams, which you can find on the channel. These 2 are, of course, far lower ranked than Morocco and Saudi Arabia. Jordan actually haven't played a game yet. They were awarded their win over South Sudan in the qualifiers for this. So it'll be interesting. We really don't know anything about Jordan coming into this competition. Palestine, on the other hand, like you said, a big 5-1 win over Comoros in the qualifiers. And it's important to note that despite the fact that Palestine are out of AFC World Cup qualification, they went out in round 2 where they actually drew 0-0 with Saudi Arabia. And that would have obviously been strongest side versus strongest side, given that it was a World Cup qualifier. So this one will be interesting. I think I am in absolutely no position to guess, given that I have no idea what Morocco team will be playing, what Saudi Arabia team will be playing, and what Jordan are going to do in this tournament. I'm sure that Palestine, though, will continue to surprise in the footballing world, and I think that there'll be a tough test for the other sides in that group. That's Group C. What about Group D, my friend?
That was a lovely little chat through Group C now. Group D, the final group, the fourth and final group of this FIFA Arab Cup, contains 3 CAF representatives and just 1 from the AFC. We've got Algeria A, Egypt, Lebanon, and Sudan. Now, as I sort of said with Tunisia, both Algeria A and Egypt are a little like Tunisia in Group B, in the sense that both are well-known international sides that compete in those top international competitions. Now, Algeria A is exactly like the scenario that you've just chatted through. So they will only be able to bring their native players that play in their native domestic leagues. Egypt is very similar to Tunisia in the sense that they're not Egypt A. I don't know what squad they're going to bring or what squad they're allowed to bring. I am basically certain that the big European players, the Mohamed El Nenis, Mohamed Salah, of course, they won't be playing, and they will be resting for the African Cup of Nations that's in January. So, but we don't know. We don't know what squads they're going to bring. I would have assumed it will be mainly those domestic Egypt-based players, but we will see. Now, so I'm going to park those two because there's too many question marks. Lebanon, we've covered on the show a number of times, actually. I think we spoke to them in our October International preview and our review of the October International, speaking about how they're the lowest ranked team that remain in the AFC qualification. They are still actually in with a shout to qualify. They are 4th in the group. I can't remember if they're in Group A or Group B. That 3rd spot, as we know, and love goes through to that playoff round. So I'm looking forward to seeing them on a big stage of the tournament. They're clearly a vastly improving side that are doing really good things on the international stage. Last but not least, Sudan, a nation that we know fairly well through our PES gaming, but not one that we've spoken about on the channel a huge amount. They're one of the lower ranked sides in the tournament, and a nation that we'll probably be following closely because of the fact that they are one of the poorest nations in there, ranked 1, 2, 4. They've already crashed out of AFC World Cup qualification. They crashed out in the second round. Sorry, not AFC, CAF. You know what I was trying to say. But they do have AFCON to look forward to at the turn of the year. They've actually qualified for the Cup of Nations, although their fixtures for that are incredibly difficult. They've got Guinea-Bissau, Nigeria, and Egypt, which is a tough old group. Players to look out for, as we know: Kamal, Shagail, the skipper, Abdallah, legendary attacker Ramadan Agab. We know all of this quite well through our gaming stuff, so apologies to the viewers if you're not that familiar with the Sudan players. But they've got a good team. They'll compete. Again, I'm hesitant to give too much detail in the way that I think that this group's going to go, because it really does depend on Algeria, how that side come together, Egypt, how strong they go, and then what sort of fight Lebanon and Sudan put up. We will see. But I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it as well. We on D&Q, we really try our best to kind of give accurate insight as well as just kind of reeling off the kind of stats. And we like to give our opinion as well. But for me personally, I don't know what it's like for you, Ryan, one of my favourite things is going into a competition and us having zero idea what the outcome's going to be. I think that a side like Tunisia or Egypt or one of the stronger North African sides should on paper win this tournament. But I have absolutely no idea, and I would love the likes of Sudan, Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, those sides to really cause upsets. Mauritania, of course, that would be incredible if they went far in this. So, listen, we're going to cover what we need to cover in terms of shock results, Minnow Nation stuff, and of course the final, which takes place, as Ryan said, on the 18th of December. We'll do some kind of preview and coverage of that as well. So do subscribe to the channel to keep up with this and the Suzuki Cup, which of course we'll do a tournament preview of as well, which is dominated by the sort of Southeast Asian region particularly, and a ton of minnows. So if you're a fan of D&Q, you are in the right place for Minnow Nation football, and it's the right time of year for it. I'm not going to ask you for a winner because we simply don't know.
Yeah.
And at some point later, maybe at the quarter-final stage or the semi-final stage, I will then ask you. But for our viewers, go on.
No, sorry to interject. And I do just want to go back to the point that you said, pal, about not knowing too much and kind of going into this one. And I do totally agree. We love football kind of across the board, don't we? So when we go into a tournament like this and we don't know everything, it gives us an opportunity to learn about players and teams, and we are surprised along the way. Talking about predictions, I totally get that, and I would be foolish to sit here and try and think of what I think the final's going to be and what I think the score's going to be and how I all see it panning out. But if I could give some sort of prediction, like away from those big teams, because we just don't know how they're going to play this tournament, the three teams that I think have the potential to do a bit of something, I've jotted down Qatar, Saudi Arabia and Syria as my three that I think, well, I wouldn't say ones to watch for this tournament, but a good side and could well have a good tournament.
I think that Saudi Arabia will have a good tournament. No disrespect to Jordan or Palestine or the Morocco local team, but that's one of the consistently lower ranked groups. And if Saudi Arabia choose to flex their muscles a little bit, as they have done in World Cup qualification, they are a really good side. That the Saudi League, there's now sides in there that have got good players, good Saudi Arabian talent as well. It's got decent funding. So they are a national side on the up, Saudi Arabia. So that's definitely a good shout. But truthfully, that is all from us on this tournament preview. We hope that you have enjoyed it. Any closing remarks from you, Ryan?
Nothing from me at all. It was good to chat through it, pal, and I look forward to the next one.
Absolutely. If you want to subscribe to D&Q, then click the button that is appearing right now on Ryan's face. We've put it there just to cover it up. And click there. And if you want to watch a video, then click here on my face, and the video best suited to you will show up. That's all from us on D&Q. We'll see you next time.